When dealing with parallel feeders and tap conductors, understanding the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 310.15b2, is crucial for ensuring safe and compliant installations. The situation involves a 300 amps service with parallel 1/0 American wire gauge feeders installed in a metal wireway after the main disconnecting means. From this wireway, two 150 amps panel boards are supplied via taps from the feeders. The focus is on one phase conductor, designated as the A phase. Inside the wireway are two parallel phase conductors. The question arises whether the two feeder tap phase conductors must terminate to both the phase feeder conductors, or if each tap conductor can terminate to only one of the feeder conductors, or perhaps one to each. The answer, according to the NEC, is definitive. The tap conductors must terminate to both feeder conductors. NEC Section 310.15b2 outlines specific requirements for tap conductors. Firstly, taps shall not be made to neutral conductors. Secondly, taps shall not exceed the ampacity of the conductor to which they are connected. Thirdly, taps shall be securely connected to both feeder conductors. And fourthly, taps shall be provided with an approved means for terminating the feeder conductors. The crucial point here is that each tap conductor must be securely connected to both feeder conductors. This requirement ensures that the load is evenly distributed across the parallel conductors, preventing overloading of any single conductor and maintaining the overall integrity of the electrical system. It is not permissible to connect each tap conductor to only one of the feeder conductors. Doing so would violate the NEC and could lead to unsafe operating conditions. The parallel conductors are designed to share the current load equally. By tapping into only one conductor, you force that conductor to carry more current than it is designed for, potentially leading to overheating, insulation damage, and even fire. The approved means for terminating the feeder conductors is also a critical aspect. These terminations must be rated for the specific conductor size and material being used, and they must be properly installed to ensure a secure and reliable connection. The use of improper terminations can result in loose connections, which can cause arcing, overheating, and ultimately, failure of the electrical system. Considering the practical implications when installing the taps for the 150 amps panel boards, each tap conductor from each panel board must be connected to both of the 1/0 American wire gauge phase feeder conductors within the wireway. This connection must be made using appropriately sized and rated connectors that are listed for use with parallel conductors. Furthermore, it's essential to ensure that the connections are made in a manner that maintains the integrity of the wireway. The wireway should not be overcrowded, and the conductors should be properly supported to prevent strain on the terminations. In addition to the specific requirements of NEC Section 310.15b2, other relevant sections of the NEC may also apply. For example, Section 310.16 provides ampacity tables for conductors based on their size, installation type, and installation conditions. It's crucial to select conductors with an ampacity sufficient to carry the intended load. Furthermore, Section 310.10h addresses the requirements for parallel conductors, including the need for them to be the same length, conductor material, circular mill area, insulation type, and terminated in the same manner. In summary, when working with parallel feeders and tap conductors, strict adherence to the NEC is paramount. The requirement to connect each tap conductor to both feeder conductors is not merely a suggestion, it's a mandatory provision designed to ensure the safe and reliable operation of the electrical system. Failure to comply with this requirement can have serious consequences, including equipment damage, fire hazards, and potential injury. It is also important to consult with a qualified electrical inspector to ensure that the installation meets all applicable code requirements. Electrical codes and standards are subject to change, so it's essential to stay up to date with the latest revisions. In addition to the NEC requirements, it's also important to consider best practices for electrical installations. This includes using high-quality materials, following manufacturer's instructions, and performing thorough testing to verify the integrity of the system. Regular maintenance and inspection can also help to identify and address potential problems before they become serious issues. Always to energize the circuit before working on any electrical equipment. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection. And never work on electrical equipment if you are not properly trained and qualified. When dealing with parallel conductors, it's important to ensure that they are properly balanced. This means that each conductor should carry approximately the same amount of current. Imbalances in current can lead to overheating and premature failure of the conductors. To ensure proper balance, the conductors should be installed in a symmetrical configuration, and the connections should be made in a way that minimizes impedance differences. In some cases, it may be necessary to use current transformers or other monitoring devices to verify that the conductors are properly balanced. The NEC also addresses the issue of voltage drop in electrical circuits. Voltage drop occurs when the voltage at the load is less than the voltage at the source. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or operate inefficiently. To minimize voltage drop, it's important to select conductors with an appropriate size and length. The NEC provides guidelines for calculating voltage drop and recommends limits for various types of circuits. When dealing with long runs of parallel conductors, voltage drop can be a significant concern. In these cases, it may be necessary to use larger conductors or to install voltage regulators to maintain the voltage within acceptable limits. The selection of appropriate overcurrent protection is also crucial for the safe operation of electrical circuits. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to interrupt the flow of current in the event of an overload or short circuit. The size of the overcurrent protection device must be carefully selected to protect the conductors from overheating without causing nuisance tripping. The NEC provides guidelines for selecting overcurrent protection devices based on the ampacity of the conductors and the type of load being served. When dealing with parallel conductors, it's important to ensure that the overcurrent protection devices are properly coordinated. This means that the devices should be selected so that the device closest to the fault will trip first, minimizing the impact on the rest of the system. The use of selective coordination can help to prevent widespread power outages in the event of a fault. Grounding is another essential aspect of electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, allowing the overcurrent protection device to trip and clear the fault. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment be properly grounded to protect against electric shock hazards. The grounding system must be designed and installed in accordance with the NEC requirements to ensure its effectiveness. When dealing with parallel conductors, it's important to ensure that the grounding system is properly connected to all of the conductors. This may require the use of bonding jumpers or other grounding connections. The goal is to provide a continuous, low-impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. Surge protection is also an important consideration for electrical systems. Surges are transient overvoltage events that can damage or destroy electrical equipment. Surges can be caused by lightning strikes, switching operations, or other disturbances on the power system. Surge protection devices, also known as surge suppressors, are designed to protect equipment from surges by diverting the excess voltage to ground. The NEC recommends the use of surge protection devices in certain applications such as sensitive electronic equipment and critical loads. When dealing with parallel conductors, it's important to ensure that the surge protection devices are properly connected to all of the conductors. This may require the use of multiple surge protection devices or a single device with sufficient capacity to protect all of the conductors. Power quality is another important aspect of electrical system performance. Power quality refers to the characteristics of the voltage and current waveform. Poor power quality can cause equipment to malfunction, operate efficiently, or even fail prematurely. Common power quality problems include voltage sags, voltage swells, harmonics, and transients. The NEC does not directly address power quality, but it does contain requirements that can help to improve power quality. For example, the NEC requires that conductors be sized to minimize voltage drop, which can help to prevent voltage sags. The NEC also requires that electrical equipment be properly grounded, which can help to reduce the impact of transients. In addition to the NEC requirement, there are a number of other measures that can be taken to improve power quality. These include using power factor correction equipment, installing harmonic filters, and using uninterruptible power supplies. Regular power quality monitoring can also help to identify and address potential problems before they become serious issues. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Electricians, engineers, inspectors, and building owners all have a role to play in ensuring the safe operation of electrical systems. By working together and following the requirements of the NEC, we can create a safer environment for everyone. It is also important to remember that electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving. As new technologies emerge and as we learn more about the hazards of electricity, the codes are updated to reflect the latest knowledge and best practices. It is therefore essential to stay up to date with the latest revisions of the NEC and other relevant standards. Continuing education and training are also crucial for maintaining competency in the electrical field. By investing in our own professional development, we can ensure that we are equipped with the knowledge and skills necessary to perform our jobs safely and effectively.